back to Shattering Myths. It is my pleasure, after a 2-week vacation, to be able to welcome back a reinvigorated, a refreshed IQ al-Rassooli, the foremost expert on Islam in the world, the most courageous man that I know, and among the wisest. IQ, you came back to a very different Europe than you left. How are you today?
Absolutely. In 10 days, literally, the whole world changed.
It did. Yeah, in fact, I've been talking about what took place, IQ, as one of the most profound and negative influences in world history.
Yes, agreed. It's retrograde.
It's amazing. Yeah, how in the world can people not make the connection? If I were to ask you, what percentage of terrorist attacks around the world are perpetrated by fundamentalist Muslims? Would you know the answer?
100%. Yeah. Not 99%. 100% against infidels.
Yeah. Since it is over 99%, it is absolutely correct to say 100%. And so if the world is most concerned with terrorist behavior, why would you import into your country those who commit essentially 100% of all terrorist attacks?
This is the conundrum at the moment. This is the enigma at the moment. I can't figure it out. Why would Western civilization self-destruct? Europe literally is inviting mass murderers in the hope of having a new generation of labor. These people will not work.
No.
Muslims will not work. They are parasitic. They are not productive. This is not hatred, the way I say it. This is not stupidity. This is a fact.
It's a fact.
What I don't understand is this. Why isn't the Western mind accepting a simple reality? And it is as it goes. There are 11.5 million square miles of Muslim land. These Muslims, Arabs, all they have to do is go to Saudi Arabia or Kuwait or Qatar.
Right.
Only 500 miles away. They speak the same language. They have the same belief system. Why do they come to the land of the infidels?
Yeah, from Syria, it's a grand total of, depending on where you are in Syria, of anywhere from 100 to 150 mile walk to Saudi Arabia. Well, you don't have to cross the Mediterranean Sea. You don't have to go through Turkey and through Greece and all the way up to the roof of Europe. It's right there.
But again, the question, why do they come to the countries of the infidels? Why are Muslims and Arabs running away from their beloved Sharia-compliant countries to the lands of the infidels kuffar in Europe and the USA instead of any of the 57 Muslim-majority states in the world?
Well, there's two reasons, really. One is that everything Islam has ever touched, it has destroyed. So there is no hope. There's no opportunity. There's no reason to live in any Islamic country. Muhammad did not give his followers a reason to live, only a reason to die. And so that's one reason. Anything is better than living in an Islamic hellhole. But second, they don't have to work. America has imported over 1 million Somalis. And of those Somalis, the vast proportion of them do not work. They're net parasites on the American system. And they just did a survey of the Somalis in America. And those who are under the age of 30, they long to go back to Somalia. They didn't integrate. They want to go back and be jihadi Muslims.
But they can't integrate. You know that, I know that, and the Quran stipulates that they cannot integrate.
Correct.
But did you know that Saudi Arabia has tens of thousands of fully air-conditioned tents that can harbor an estimated 3 million refugees? Saudi Arabia offered instead to build hundreds of mosques in Germany and Europe for these refugees. What a great idea.
Oh, great.
They will become the basis for more indoctrinated Muslim children to further terrorize Europeans.
Correct. Yeah, it's not like they're going to integrate into Europe. No, they're going to continue to be infected with the most deadly pathogen ever conceived by man, Islam. You know, it's like being a father and saying, you know what I think I want to do is I want to bring rats with bubonic plague into my home. So it's an astonishingly stupid thing that is being done in Europe, and it's going to profoundly change Europe because not only will it become a place of anarchy, and therefore the only way to constrain Islamic terrorism is dictatorial force. So you're giving away your freedom in Europe.
Did you know, if you look at the websites to the last few days, and I've been double-checking everything, the very people who ran away and so-called refugees are terrorizing already Hungarians, Germans, Italians, and Greeks.
Yes.
As we speak, not with bombs, with their behavior.
Correct. Oh, I've witnessed the pictures. You know, even that sad picture of the little toddler that washed ashore on the Turkish beach. You know, he wasn't a refugee from his parents and family weren't refugees from war-torn Syria. No, for the last 3 years they'd been living in Turkey. His dad left Turkey because he wanted free dental care. Not for his kid, for himself.
Yes.
What's the mindset of these people?
His wife and children to be refugees so that he can come after them.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. There are over 1 billion Muslims from Africa to Asia who would like to go to Europe and America.
Right.
Are these liberals, these leftists, willing to allow them also? Why stop only at 1 million?
Well, they're not going to stop at 1 million. Do you know how many in Syria are displaced?
Over 3.5 million.
No. That's not even close. The United Nations said 6 months ago that the number of refugees from the Iraqi and Syrian conflict was 8 million. But it's not. It's 12 million. So right now, there are 12 million. But what's going to happen when the Islamic State invades, and they're going to, Jordan? What's going to happen when they invade, and they're going to, Lebanon? What's going to happen when they invade, and they're going to, Saudi Arabia? What's going to happen when they expand their presence? And all of a sudden, there's no longer 12 million of them, but 20 million of them. Once you let the first in, how are you going to say no to the rest?
You can't. You can't. That's the trouble.
No, there was only one way to resolve any of this, and that was really very simple, to say no.
Yes.
You know, we talked about something quite some time ago about the only solution to Islam is to recognize that it is a criminal enterprise, that it was founded as a criminal enterprise. That's a conclusion that you came to, that we've talked about at length, and that it needs to be quarantined. We need to recognize that it cannot coexist in any civilized country. We need to make it illegal just as we would make the mafia illegal. And it needs to be quarantined, which means you no longer do business with Islamic countries. You no longer provide Islamic countries weapons. You don't invade Islamic countries. But the worst possible choice isn't just doing what we're doing now. It's allowing Muslims to invade your countries.
But they are invading. You know what I can't find? The leftists and liberals in the media, academia, politics, and clergy have been having a field day regarding the tragedy of Syria. Look, the mass slaughter of thousands of Christians in the last 10 years in my country, Iraq, did not move any of these despicable bleeding hearts. The decapitation and crucifixion of little children, Christians, made no impact upon their alleged conscience. The death of over 250,000 Syrians in the last 5 years did not stir their heart. Yet, the drowning of a 3-year-old Muslim child has all of a sudden sent them into a paroxysm of orgy of false concern for the Syrian refugees.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
And of course, the child wasn't a refugee. The child's life wasn't threatened. the father of the child was looking for free dental care. He risked his own child. Why should the world be concerned about the child if his own parents weren't concerned about it?
They're not concerned. Muslims are never concerned about their children. Muslims are only concerned into dominating the world with Islam. That means bringing the dark ages to humanity. That's all they're concerned with.
You told our audience that Muslims don't work, and that wasn't your opinion. It's just a statement of fact. You know, when I was writing Prophet of Doom, what I came to realize is that the only business of Muslims, the first Muslims, was crime. That none of them worked. When they went to Yathrib from Medina, from Mecca to Yathrib, following the satanic verses, there wasn't a single one of them that had a skill set. There wasn't a businessman, there wasn't a merchant, there wasn't a farmer among them. It was the destitute of society that did not work and had absolutely no skills. And so what did Muhammad create as the economy for the Muslim?
An organized crime syndicate.
That is correct. They became thieves. They enslaved, they raped, they robbed. That's what they did.
For 1,400 years.
Right. That is not business. That is not economics. That is not work. It's despicable. But that's what they became. There isn't a single hadith amongst the thousands of hadith. There isn't a single Quran surah that speaks of the dignity of work, that speaks of a Muslim doing something, of creating something, of building something, of growing something. Not one. As a matter of fact, it was really interesting. As I was reading this, and I realized that the only economics, the entire economics of Islam was crime. I read a hadith where two of Muhammad's first Muslims were sent out as spies. And they came upon this farmer that was harvesting dates from a date farm. And they were just totally mesmerized by this person actually working. That the hadith speaks of their amazement and how they laid down and watched this individual work. Until, of course, they killed him and robbed him of the fruit that he had harvested. Welcome to the world of Islam. Muslims don't work. It is a surprise, I think, to most IQ, that there is such a difference between Yahowah's testimony in the Torah and that which is ascribed to Allah in the Quran. I mentioned there isn't a single statement in the Quran which speaks favorably of work. Not a single hadith statement that describes any Muslim farming, engaged in trade, doing something productive. And, do you know what the first statement that Yahowah made to Adam after he sent him out of the garden?
To till the land.
Yeah, that's right. You're going to till the land. You're going to produce your food. You're going to till the land. You're going to work. When Yahowah established the plan of 6+1, of 6 days, you do your work, and on the seventh day, I want you to rest and reflect on the relationship. What is he speaking of those 6 days?
Yes.
Working, doing something. IQ, I don't know you've never really shared your relationship with your father and how you grew up and that sort of thing. I do know that you don't do this for a living. You have a job. You work. Do you find that there is a reward in working, a sense of satisfaction that comes from working?
I'll tell you what. Without work, the human being is just an animal.
That's correct.
Literally, without work. Right. The human being is only an animal.
Right. Work. I've written now 15 books, and I work at coming to know so that I can contemplate what I've come to know and understand, and then share what I've come to understand. That's work. It's fun. I enjoy work. But work is a very important part of the human psyche. You're either working and building and therefore growing, or you're a parasite.
Yeah, but this is why Europe and America, the Europeans and Americans have excelled. while the Muslim world has not.
Have excelled past tense, my friend.
Okay, I accept that.
Yeah.
Who do you think today, as we speak, the only intelligent leader in Europe? The only intelligent leader in Europe, who do you think is?
There is one? Okay. It's certainly not Merkel or Holiday, but who would you say is who has the...
Prime Minister
Oh yeah, saying you're not
he
staying
stood
here.
up and said to Merkel, you are committing mass destruction. You should stop saying we need more refugees. You are destroying Europe.
Right.
He said it yesterday.
Right. And because she has said yes, that just was the green light for all of them. But throughout the Torah and Prophets and Psalms, Yahowah is speaking of work. You know, his favorite metaphor to explain, to give people a visual understanding of what he's offering are all agricultural. They're all about planting and harvesting and reaping. And so every one of his symbols is agricultural because we can understand what it means to toil in the ground, to pull the weeds, to water and to nurture that which we've planted, understanding the importance of growth and protecting that and working to harvest the product to feed our children. All of it is good. It's beneficial. It's rewarding.
Yeah, but without agriculture, you can't have a civilization either.
Right.
The agriculture was the base from which civilization was built.
Correct. And yet,
Literally.
In the Islamic world, when Islam was conceived by Muhammad, there was no work, no sense of accomplishment. You know, right after 9/11, I went into the West Bank, which is where I met with al-Qaeda. And one of the things that was just so stunning is in Israel, there's this vibrant economy of people working and engaging and building and doing things. And then you go right across the border into the Islamic Palestinian Authority-controlled areas, and no one's working. The stores are all shuttered. People are just standing outside loitering. They're surviving as parasites on monies that have been provided by the West.
Only by the West, by the way.
Yeah.
Arab countries don't provide money.
Right.
They don't provide money. The Muslims don't provide money. They will provide money to build mosques so that they create more terrorism. You know, I come to the conclusion the last 10 days that the Europeans and Americans are more good-hearted and stupid than wise.
Correct.
Who are willing to give these so-called refugees shelter, medical attention, financial help and freedom to undermine the host countries and turn them to the very Sharia-compliant countries they are allegedly running away from.
Right. It's suicide. It's suicide. And it's not compassionate. It's not good-heartedness. It's grotesquely immoral.
Okay.
It is. I mean, it's grotesquely immoral to poison your own home that way, to infect your own home that way. IQ, one of the things that the West doesn't seem to understand is that Western morality is what created the atmosphere where business could thrive. And Western morality is based on the last 6 of the statements that Yahowah etched in stone. That's the basis of them. And in Islam, Muhammad was a reprobate. He specifically established a religion that was in conflict with all 6 of those statements that Yahowah etched in stone. And so, yeah, well, the last 6 because of Muhammad violated all 10 of the statements that Yahowah etched in stone. But Western civilization is not based upon Yahowah liberating us from religion and politics, which is the first of the 7 statements. It's not based on the second statement is don't be religious. Don't corrupt your children by being religious. And the third statement is I will not forgive someone who diminishes the importance of my name or who leads people to lifelessness. The first 3, the West completely ignores, and the fourth, the West mostly ignores, which is remember the 7th day and keep it set apart. So the West ignores the first 4. Muhammad violated the first 4, but the next 6 are the basis of Western civilization, which is why business has thrived. But business can't thrive in an environment where one's word is not one's bond. If you can't trust, then you can't engage in business. If stealing is lawful and good, then there is no opportunity for business. So business does not work in an Islamic country.
Yeah, but also if lying is sanctioned, you can't also do business.
Right. Yeah. How do you do business with somebody whose religion sanctions lying, bearing a false witness? Yeah, the whole basis of business is your word is your bond. You engage in contract. If the contract is worthless, if your word is worthless. If you are encouraged to steal, if stealing is lawful and good, business never works. That's the reason why Muhammad's Muslims never, ever established a vibrant economy. Their economics was all about stealing.
Look, Muslims call this invasion of Europe and America the Hijrah, meaning, as you know, migration from Muslim lands to non-Muslim lands, so as to subvert and then bring these nations, Europe and the Americas, under Islamic Sharia.
Correct.
By the way, this is exactly what Muhammad and his murderous followers did when they left Mecca to subjugate Medina, and thereafter the whole of Arabia, and after that, the whole world, from the year 622 AD till today.
Right. And it's all happening for two reasons. One is that the United States stupidly engaged in the world of Islam, beginning with Jimmy Carter and his turning on the Shah and bringing back the Ayatollah Khomeini to establish the rise of Sharia Islam, and then George Bush stupidly invading Iraq and giving Iraq to Iran, also raising the status of Sharia, of Shia Islam, and now creating a civil war, a fight to the death between Sunni and Shia Muslims. That's half of the reason we're in this pickle. The stupidity of the West, not understanding that to engage in the world of Islam is counterproductive. The second is Merkel. One woman by saying, we want them. And if you don't want them, then you are a scum. We don't even want to hear from you. You don't belong in our country if you say you don't want them. And one person saying we're going to take $800,000 a year for the foreseeable future. Then the moment that occurred into the German welfare state, it opened the floodgates at which there is no stopping this flood.
Look, I would like to point out one of the most incredible reversal of fortunes happening in Germany today. In a recent research made by a German company, they found out that 80% of Germans still harbor very negative feelings and perceptions of Jews, meaning they still hate Jews.
What percentage? What percentage?
80%.
Okay, so it's a little less than the number in Greece, which is 90%.
Okay. The same Germans who helped exterminate 25 million law-abiding people, of whom 6 million were Jews and 19 million were others, Christians and others, because they were considered Untermensch, that means subhuman.
Right.
This same Germany will harbor, by the end of this year, 6 million Muslims who will never integrate or assimilate, and within 20 years will become a majority through unbridled birth rate and more immigrants that will eventually utterly destroy German culture, German history, and German society.
And fundamentally change Germany so that Germany goes from the first Holocaust, where they saw to it that they killed 6 million Jews in concentration camps, to finishing off the Jews by turning all of Europe's might against Israel, completely isolating Israel and threatening Israel's very existence. That's the net consequence of this migration into Germany of Muslims.
Yeah, but Germany itself will be destroyed.
Yes.
Not only Israel.
I was reading a prophecy from Isaiah 28 during the first hour of the program. And it speaks about the arrogance and presumptuousness of the leaders of Europe. and it actually says that they will be trampled underfoot by the very militants that they allowed into their country.
Yeah.
So the prophecy is specific about not only will these militants invade Europe and the United States, but they're going to turn on their hosts and trample them.
But they're doing it as we speak. They've been doing it for 30 years. This is the most remarkable thing. Look, in Germany, in France, in England, and in Italy, there are areas, in Sweden and Norway, areas where the indigenous population cannot go in.
Right. Correct.
Look,
To do so would be to be risking your life.
Yes. Allowing Muslim refugees in any non-Muslim society is exactly the same as someone injecting oneself with the HIV virus and expecting to cure one from the common cold.
Right.
Yes.
They're importing the bubonic plague. There is no difference in going to Madagascar and rounding up 1 million rats infected with the bubonic plague and bringing them in versus allowing 1 million Muslims to integrate. Islam is the most deadly pathogen man has ever conceived. It's responsible for the kidnap and rape of little girls, for the sexual mutilation of hundreds of millions of little girls, for the treatment, the most harsh, negative, sexist treatment of women. It is a religion based upon thievery and deceit, and everything it's ever touched, it has destroyed. And they're bringing this pathogen willingly into Europe under the name of morality and compassion. It's hard to believe people are that stupid.
Correct, but my question to these morality and compassion. But we have in Europe, and you have in America, Americans who are destitute, Europeans who are destitute. Why aren't we taking care of these who are our people?
Right.
The people they're bringing in, I don't get it.
Yes.
I mean, if we have enough compassion and mercy should start at home.
Well, the fact of the matter is that these Muslims ought to go to Iran, to Saudi Arabia, to Turkey. You're telling me that there's not enough money or available land in Saudi Arabia, in Kuwait, in Turkey?
So why are the Europeans accepting them?
Well, the moment that Merkel promoted this,
should take refugees. The Pope said to the Catholics, every church should open its door and take refugees.
Right.
Where is he? On which planet is he? I don't understand that.
Well, the reason that I've told you and everyone who would listen that we're entering a period of time where Roman Catholicism, Orthodox Christianity, Islam, and socialist secular humanism are all going to merge and act as one. And they will be extraordinarily counterproductive to human life and liberty. And that's what we're witnessing right now. The Pope is embracing Islam, embracing socialist secular humanism, and socialist secular humanists are embracing Islam and the Pope.
Yeah.
That's the world we're headed to.
That's why he's agreeing with Obama.
That is correct.
Everything Obama asked, the Pope was very happy to oblige.
Correct.
Everything.
Right. Because the Pope is trying to embrace Islam.
Yeah.
The Pope came out of a culture where he was a socialist secular humanist. He is taking Roman Catholicism to exactly where prophecy predicted the world would be. We're going to see an integration of the ignorance and the immorality of socialist secular humanism, the fascist nature and deadly controlling nature of Islam, and the thoughtless, debilitating existence of Christianity, all wrapped together to control the world. And if you don't support that, you're going to be publicly humiliated, just as Merkel has done.
Yeah. But I'll tell you something. If 3 more states in Europe stand up like the one in Hungary,
no,
the domino effect will come in.
No,
the domino effect will play.
Not going to happen.
Okay.
Not going to happen.
Yeah.
You know, it's you and I have known for a very long time that we would be like a voice crying out in the wilderness, warning people that what they were doing is suicidal, warning people that they were headed to a rendezvous with death and destruction, and that there was hope. There were ways to avoid this, but we recognize that the world is not going to embrace those. Individuals will. There'll be individuals who will benefit from what we're saying. But for the most part, the world's in a headlong rush to its own destruction.
Maybe it's about time. Maybe it is about time.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly used to be positive. I'm not kidding with you. Until a year ago, I truly believed Europe and America will wake up.
Yeah.
But now I'm not so certain.
Yeah. And, no, and I'm positive they won't. But, IQ, this refugee crisis that is emanating out of Syria and out of Libya and out of Iraq, there is no end to it. This is a fight to death between Sunni and Shia Muslims. There is no resolution of the problem. America invaded Iraq and gave Iraq to Iran, and thereby building an army for the Shiites that were now in charge of Iraq. They attacked the Sunnis and created a civil war, the civil war that was inevitable. And that war rages on. It is a war between Muslims. IQ, there is no resolution of this war, is there?
None. The tragedy is that we have Obama and the Congress with Democrats in it, willing to shake hands with the Ayatollahs, believing that the Ayatollahs will not make a bomb within the next few months.
Yeah. Actually, there was only one way for this war to wind down, and that was to leave Iran vulnerable. If Iran's vulnerable, then the fact that she's outmanned 5-1 by Sunni Muslims and outgunned 25-1 because of America's fascination with providing guns to Saudi Arabia and Kuwait and Qatar and Egypt. The fact is that Sunni Muslims would have wiped out Shia Muslims, and yet, because of what the Obamanator has done, now look at us. The war goes on.
Yes, because the West is burning it, adding to the fuel to the fire.
Yeah. There's no way that Saudi Arabia at all can invade Iran, because Iran is a nuclear nation, and there's no way that Iran will run out of weapons, because she is now able to sell her oil, and there are no restrictions on the amount of weapons that she can buy.
Yeah.
By the way, one of the most amazingly stupid aspects of this whole thing is that the way that Obama has browbeat Russia to a position where Russia has nothing to lose to continue to protect and stand by its customer, Syria. And now there are Russians in Syria trying to rally a final support for the city-state of Damascus, and yet America is bombing Syria, which means we're soon going to be bombing Russians. And guess who'll be firing back at us?
Russia will retaliate.
Yeah.
Putin made that very clear.
Yeah.
He will retaliate.
Of course. And for those...
He's been forced into a corner.
Right.
And when you force, even a rat, if you force him in a corner, he will retaliate.
Right. He's going to bite. Absolutely. You force a rat into a corner, and by the way, I don't think Putin's a rat. But we have forced... Right. But we have forced the bear that is Russia into a corner, and we're now bombing Syria into oblivion, and we're arming the Islamic State, and we're arming everybody in that region with our stupidity. And so the Russians say, wait a minute, Syria's our customer. Iran's our customer, and we're going to help the city-state of Syria survive. And by the way, you and I have talked a lot about this. Assad's a very bad guy. But isn't Assad infinitely better for Syria and the world than any one of the groups that is trying to overthrow him?
Of course. He was always better. He is secular. He was always secular.
So in this case...
But every Islamic state is dictatorship. Look at Turkey. Look what's happening at the moment in Malaysia. Look what's happening in Indonesia. They are forcing Sharia law everywhere.
Right.
They're forcing Sharia law.
Right. And they're making it a criminal act to run against the government as a non-Islamic candidate. I mean, if you try to run against the Erdogan's party in Egypt, you're going to be thrown in jail.
Correct.
In a Turkish jail, no less. You know, the situation in Syria is the Russians are on the right side. We're on the wrong side.
There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Even in the Ukraine, the Russians are on the right side.
And we're on the wrong side. That's correct. That is also correct. And the problem here is now that you've got Shia Islam, and Shia Islam has two allies, two very powerful allies, China and Russia. And the Sunni Islam has two very powerful allies, Europe and the United States. What we're seeing here is not just a battle between Sunni and Shia Islam that's a fight to the death. The world has been divided with two superpowers on either side. This is World War III.
No question. Honestly, I mean, I have absolutely no, I don't wish it on anybody.
But it's inevitable.
Any other way.
Yeah, it's inevitable. We have begun the battle that is World War III. America and Europe on the side of Sunni Islam, China and Russia on the side of Shia Islam. It is a fight to the death. And guess what? Both sides are going to die. There are no winners here, only losers. Death prevails. Thank you, IQ.